Good afternoon. We're back. We spent a week on a memorial piece with cardinals and hummingbirds, and so now we're back to the big panel here. Let's back this off. I know of several people that are building this at the same time I am, and the two people that have shared pictures with me are really doing a good job with this. Pardon me. Well, let's see. Here is where, let me get this out of there. There is where I left off, stopped. And the next thing we want to say is, well, where do we go from here? Everybody that's building this or will build it or would build it may be doing it a different way. Let me give you a couple of tips on how I'm going to do it or am doing it, and then you can take off and do it whatever way you wish. When I got these pieces here in and set where I wanted, and I've got a nice clean line here, what I did right there, since we're working with millimeters, which is down to nothing, I came back and reset these lines to make sure that this 10 millimeter, the next one next to that is 10 millimeter again. In other words, I re-referenced these lines from this new existing line. Now, it should have been real close, but I didn't want to take any chances. And let me do this where I don't know whether you can see this or not, probably. Anyway, and I went along here and remarked it all along there to get that 10 millimeters. We're going to stop right here. And then that next one, 10 millimeters. I think it might be a good idea, if you really want to get down to nitty-gritty on this, which is where we need to be. I think when I get this set of lines here in, I'll come back and remark again. Oh boy, I'm looking at seeing if I'm, I need to look at this. I think I'm off right there. I kind of wish I'd have caught that. I'm off a half a millimeter, and I can actually see it. So, in fact, that's unfortunate because we're going to have to take that copper foil off there. See, I wish I'd have caught that. See, there it is, pretty close to right. Then I'm a little bit wide, then I'm back right again. And we're about a half a millimeter off. Now, that probably wouldn't make that much difference, but there's no sense of building these mistakes into your work. So let's do this. Let's got a little knife right here. Let's just take this off. It seemed I don't edit these things, so if this was some kind of a TV production show, they'd edit this out. Okay, so we're in fact, I can even see it. We're a little bit wide right there. So let's clean that up, and if we can retain the remainder of that foil, we will. Be careful here not to do too much. Okay. Oh, it's kind of messing up our foil. We'll just foil it again. Or for the most of it, we'll foil again. Okay, I just want to see if go back in there. That looks right. I can actually see the cartoon line right under the edge of that thing. So it sounds like, well, you're so nitpicky. I'm going to tell you why. Because one of the hallmarks, let's just get this off here. How much more trouble would it be just to take the whole thing off? One of the hallmarks of this type of work, see, that's just a waste of time when you do that. I should have caught that. All right. I think it goes this way. There, it doesn't matter. Okay, yeah, I can see the cartoon line under there. Okay, that's good. Let's go back. 730 seconds is what we're using here. Yeah, if it doesn't make any difference whatsoever, if there's something that's just not quite up to par, if it doesn't matter, then why bother, the extra work of fixing it? However, if it's off and you can fix it, then just take the time, to do it again. That was off. Okay, let me get my homemade fid, 1/2-inch piece of hardwood dowel, and then I got a flat spot right here, which I really like, and round it in. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Okay, now what I was going to say when I messed that up. Now here's another thing. You want to now this is our guideline, obviously, but what you really want to watch yourself right here. You want those lines right there. You want the end of this piece of glass right here to line up with the end of that piece of glass right there. If you do that, then you're going to end up with a nice straight line going across. Okay, so what I wanted to say was that we'll get these 4 in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'll come back and I'll reset this line again. And constantly moving toward this ribbon being straight. Now, I don't know whether anybody noticed this or not. I'll show you. Let me get something to mark with here. The glass right here is just a hair narrow, and it's just a hair off that cartoon. And in fact, if I'm really nitpicking, I want this piece of glass here to line up with this piece. So let's move that out ever so slightly right there. Okay. And that will compensate for the fact that this one is just a hair narrow. Not very much. Certainly not worth recutting. But it was a little bit narrow. Now it's lined up on the cartoon. And what I want to do now, I want to get a brand new, let me get this. I got a whole bucket of these things. I wanted to start over with a brand new flux brush. I don't use much flux. There's a little bit of flux down in the bottom of this. And I've shifted to gel flux on this particular window. People always want to know what you're using. Here, let me get that out. All right. These both work really good for me. I like them. They're not really aggressive, which means, for those that are worried about it, if there's any flux that bleeds through, and there will be, it's not going to eat up the copper. You can leave this flux on for a long time. So I use Old Masters, and I use the gel flux, 6 of one, half dozen of another. I've used Old Masters here for the last month or so. In fact, I think I used Old Masters on everything we've done so far. I'm shifting right now to the Classic 100 gel flux to see if I like it better. I use one or the other. So I've got a little bit of gel flux, and I don't use much. Now, some people pour a whole bunch in there. If you have a lot in your little dish, then you're going to end up with a lot on your brush. And see, just a little bit right, just a tiny bit, because we're only going to do a little bit of this. All right, so that's more than enough. Now what'd you do? I got to get some solder now. I don't know what I was thinking. Here we go. All right, so we moved that piece out because it was a tiny bit narrow, and we moved it to hit that cartoon right there. Here we didn't need to move it. It was the right width. So let's just take a little bit of solder and touch it right there. That's going to make sure it doesn't move. Okay, so here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get this, when this gets soldered completely, we want it to line up with this other ribbon. So I'm happy with where this sits. So let's take and mark that, or set it with a little bit of flux and a little bit of solder. There you go. Okay, so let's do this one. And I wanted to mention, why don't you come across here? And it's going to be a lot easier to keep these in line, these 4 pieces in line here on that cartoon right there, than to add all 3 of those and then try to continually get all 3 of those lined up, back. It's much easier to keep yourself in line here. Then we'll recheck this line and adjust it so it recalibrates the 10 millimeters, because we want this. Now this section in here is going to be glue chip, but we want to recalibrate because I'm not a machine, I'm not a computer, so there's going to be, no matter how hard I try, tiny bits of difference here, maybe 9.8 millimeters, 10.1, somewhere there. We're trying to stay on that line, but it's done by hand, so there's going to be a little bit of variance. That means if we come back and reestablish, in fact, I'll show you how we do that right now. Let's just do this. We'll do a little bit of it. Okay, so all I'm going to do, I don't know whether I'm going to bend over here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm taking and marking that 10. It looks like the old line was good, but I'm just reestablishing that 10 millimeter line. And somebody say, well, anybody that's going to take off and do this panel is not worried about nitpicking, because this whole panel is nitpicking. Ooh, I can see where we're off that original a little bit, right in there. See here, and here, and then I can see right there we're too narrow, which means this one's a little wider. Yeah, but see, we're going to reestablish the line. Okay, let me clean this up. And see, for anything that's wrong here, and I say wrong kind of loosely, we'll correct it. And we continually calibrate and correct. Now, this stuff's real important if you want this thing to really have a high level of fabricate. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so there's the line reestablished. Not much difference, just a little bit more or less right in there. Okay, so we reestablish it back here. Just show you how I'm going to do it. Okay, let's get this one done here. So here's a piece of just high quality tracing paper. Now we go this way. Okay, and we want to go real tight to the existing line. Ooh, moving around a little much there. We'll straighten that out with a knife. UP. Remember, we always put the UP on there because this interior glass right here is going to be glue chip, and we of course cut the glue chip on the smooth side. Cutting mat, these self-healing cutting mats, boy, these are nice for you to cut your pattern with. Let me get I got a new blade in this thing, so it's nice and sharp. And somebody might say, ooh, I cut that just a little bit short. but we put the foil on it. I think it'll be all right. Now I'm going to try to split the difference right there on all the stuff I was doing with the pencil. Somebody would say, "Oh, I can't believe you're going to do that on every piece of glass in this panel." Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I've done them a lot more intricate than this thing. Well, this is plenty intricate. Yeah, there you go right there. For those that haven't seen this, I had this back out in my inspiration piece right here. What I'm looking at here is something in general a lot more detailed than what we just came off of. Check out that corner. This stuff gets nuts here. You're up in here cutting these pieces of glass. Look at that. Up here cutting these pieces of, look at that glass. Cutting that. So every time I get on, I'm going to go venture into something like this, which is definitely detailed enough. But I come and I get this thing out for me to look at, and I'm thinking, well, you know, if you can do that, then certainly you can do this other one. And this stuff just got, look, that's a piece of glass. Right there. Right. Oh, look at this. All right, so, oh, and it got down into here, just nuts right in here. So anyway, that's an inspiration to me. Look at that, and then I'm thinking, heck, and I enjoyed every bit of that. So I was really happy to get back to this because I really like this. Okay, where was that piece of paper we just cut up? That one there. All right, so I'm showing you again, and this is what I'd like for anybody that's really serious with this stuff to practice. Now, I always say the same thing. I hope this works. If it doesn't, we'll cut it again. Okay, what I'm trying to do here is take out that, I'm looking for my glass cutter. Somewhere it is. I'm trying to, there it is. Let me put a little bit of, what's over here? I'm wandering around here. I'm not reestablished yet. I'm trying to eliminate a step that kind of gets convoluted. In other words, how are we going to mark that? Well, the glass is too dark to mark with any kind of a Sharpie, or instance. And if this really worked real well, this white paint marker, I'd mark it with that. But these don't work so well. The paint will flow, then it stops flowing, then it starts flowing too much. And so what's the point of that? So over the years, I've just eliminated having to fool with that. And I just do it with holding it. I'm right-handed. Hold this pattern down with my left hand. And you can turn your glass cutter. Now, I love these things, but this is old school. There can't be many of you using this. And I turn it over, and I'm looking at that wheel, and I can see where that wheel goes. And I've done this enough times that I also can do it this way, and I know where that wheel is in respect to the pattern, even though I can't see it. So let's just do it right here so you can see it. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to drive along here right on the pattern. And most of the time, there are times it doesn't, but most of the time, this works. And I've eliminated, man, I hear people say, well, you're holding it down with masking tape or this tape or glue. People actually glue their patterns down, all that kind of stuff. Well, if that works for you, that's cool. I'm just trying to show you a way that if you practice, you eliminate that step and you get a nice cut. Now, whether we get a nice cut here still remains to be seen. Okay. Well, let's see how we want to do that. We'd put I'm thinking a silver snit going that way, and we'll break that off, and then we'll get the silver snit going that way. That sounds like a good idea. We'll try it. Silver snit. There, I see people that have one of these. For those that have learned how to use this thing, It's a fantastic tool. There are people that say, "Well, I just threw it in a drawer. I couldn't get it to work." The key to this thing is not squeezing it real hard. Kind of like an egg in your hand. Put the little bump under the score and just give it a gentle squeeze. Now the smart move would probably be to take these off. And all I'm looking for is the grows and pliers. There they are. Although we do have a continuous line going off that way, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Okay, let's take this other one off. Okay, and there's the silver snit in action again. Just get in the middle of that thing. Watch it. What a tool, what a tool. Okay, so all we're going to do with this is just clean it off. We don't really want to change the shape of it because it might not need that. So all I did was just clean any burrs on it. And because we didn't have to tap it, or because we didn't get rough with any of the instruments, we don't have any of those little cups or little shards hanging off of it. We got a nice piece of glass here. Now, if I drew two things got to happen. You got to draw the pattern right, and then you got to cut it right. So if that happened, we're going to be pretty close here. Now, we may need a little work, but we're going to be pretty close. Oop. Oh, gee, well, all right. Okay, now, I see, oh boy, not much. Now what I'm doing right now is I'm feeling across the top of this. Is there any part of this hanging out? Trying to make a decision. Is there any tiny, oh, just the smallest little part? I know we need to fix this other end. I'll show you something here in just a second. Whoa. Okay, now see, I've got that hidden under there because I don't want, when we put this glass in, I don't want any problems where they're lining up. Now the next thing is I'm looking underneath there, and it feels like I'm a hair wide, but I can't change. I can't take any more off this, because if I do, let me get you where you can see. I think I'm off the cartoon ever so slightly right here, but if I take any off that, it's going to take that end back, and then I'm going to go out of alignment here. So we're going to have to live with that, which we will fix. Boy, it's about 9 and 9.8 millimeters, so this needs just a ever so slight adjustment right there. Okay, and then it looks a little thin right here. And see, remember we didn't redirect this line yet. So I'm going to say that's about 9.5. Yeah, it is. So this line right here needs to be corrected. Let's just take that out. Now this is exactly why I'm doing this. And the rest of that's 10. Good. This is exactly why I'm doing this one piece at a time method, because I'm custom fitting that piece into that spot. And what I do with this piece has everything to do with this piece and this piece. Now this piece here had to be right because it affects this piece. So everything adjacent to this is in the ball game. You've got to take that in consideration. All right. So I wouldn't mess with that now. Here's I'd see a place that we do need to work. Let me find. Here it is. Okay. Right there. Right there. We're angled out. Right here, past the end of this piece of glass here. We need to be on the end of that. So let's take the scribe. Actually, don't even really need the scribe. And let's just knock off that tip right there. Now, what I'm striving here for is that I want all of these pieces to line up. We're still, man, that's close. We're just ever so slightly proud or too far that direction. And boy, I mean, it isn't much. So I don't know now I just like doing this, but if you do this with every piece of this thing, and I work on every piece, it gets a little rough in here, this stuff here. This is not actually as bad as this is, because this has got all these straight lines, and this piece laying off of here has to be just perfect because it affects this piece, which then in turn affects this piece, which in turn affects this piece. So here, if you were to take that piece right there and you didn't cut it exactly like that, and you cut it like that, then you would just compensate here for the fact that you went off the cartoon here. That's all there is to that. Here, you can't go off the cartoon. If you go off the cartoon, then you've gone off this long line. Okay, so let's put that on. Oh man, I can see this panel here, and I'm in no rush. I don't care how long this takes. What are we? We're at toward the end of December, obviously. I'll be working on this thing in February. Now, every now and then I have to stop and build something real special. At this point, I'm building memorial pieces and stuff like that. The only thing that would take me off this now, if somebody's got to have a cardinal, dragonfly, hummingbird memorial piece, those are important to me because they're generally in some form of grief over somebody that's passed away, and sometimes I can do something real special. So that's the only, that's the only thing going to take me off of this. All right. Oh boy, look at that. Oh man, I'm just loving this. All right, let's lock this down. All right, and there we are. Let's do one more, and for the 2 or 3 people that are left, I'll get under here and trying to conserve my paper. Oops. I need to pull this paper down just a little bit. Okay, here's one here. And there we are again. See, we're in the right place here. Now this is real important. I really need to have that hit right there, because you don't want to be jockeying this piece around because you made a mistake here. I don't remember doing that 10 millimeters down there either. Let me make sure here. Oh yeah, UP. There it is. Okay, let's cut this end up here off. Now this is getting real important. Now I'm going to go ahead and, instead of cutting it on the left side of that line or the middle I'm going to cut the right, because that's going to make the piece long enough. I hope it wouldn't bother me if it was a little longer. Now sometimes on some of these I've actually added some, but I usually don't do a lot of that adding to them after I get on or roll with these things, because I'm starting to cut. I've been on it. I've been cutting glass. Well, I don't think I've ever stopped, but I've been cutting glass pretty good over the last few days. So I want to look at this and see, oh yeah, that's going to be long enough. Okay, let's cut this one. Real important. Got a little bit of a curve in it. Okay, we're going to do it the same way. And I don't like to go fast because I just, you know, the more you concentrate, I think this one might be a little wider than what we need. I saw that, I don't know whether you can see it, but there's a little bit of pencil there where we're cut a little bit wide, but we can fix that. Oops. Let's go here. I think I'm going to turn this one around. I don't know whether I turned the other one around or not. I probably did. Okay, now we're going to reset ourselves. And I'm going to leave that down there a little bit long. That end down there. So I can clean that up. I don't want any problems here with it being too short. See, just take that wheel, hold it steady, and take that wheel and run it right down the side of that piece. Okay, here goes the silver schnit again. All right. And where'd that thing go? There it is. All right, so let's break that off. Chunk that off. And here the beauty of the silversmith is it'll get in there and take off a piece that narrow. Now we want to go over here again and just clean it. This one I think we're going to need to grind on this one a little bit. I can see that coming. I did not hit the pattern quite as tight as I wanted to. And oh yeah, what in the world's going on here? Okay, the first thing we want to correct before we mess around over here is there's a hump in this thing right here for some reason. Right there. I'm trying to figure out why that's there. Now, if I fool around with this thing, trying to get it right, and it's not right, well, guess what? We'll cut another one. And I'll look at that pattern and think, well, what did I do wrong? Ooh. Okay, we're getting real close to right here. However, there's a tiny, boy, it's not even going to show up much. There's a tiny little crack right there. And I'm trying to decide now if I want to, because I'm getting real close to not having enough room to do any grinding over here. I think I still need to take that right here out, right there. I had a feeling when I saw the pattern was off just slightly, and then, oh, okay, now we're getting there. Okay, now, ooh, now that's amazing how that brought that in, except there is a tiny little hump right here, very tiny, and another little hump right here. So let's clean up this little bit here. Notice I'm staying away from this end because that's already narrow enough. Boy, we're real close here. We're still going to need to do a little something with this end here. I still see a tiny. Now what I'm going to look at is, boy, it's lined up with this real well. Yeah, see, now I'm going to look down at the cartoon. See, we're off the cartoon right here just a little bit. we're too wide. And then when you get real close here, you can fix anything that's wrong with the foil. Ooh, okay. I'm still not happy. I'm definitely not happy right there. Let me do this. What I want to do is just extend this line right here. Okay, that's the cartoon line right there. And see, I'm just too wide here. Oh, however long it takes. I absolutely have no concern. If this took me 45 minutes to get this piece right, that's what it would take. Whoa, boy, we're really getting down there now. All right, now here, this I've got to have right here. This is real important because this piece here has to come right across there and touch that. So I'm seeing where the cartoon is, and I'm going to use the scribe. Boy, I want to be careful up on this end here. Okay. You can ruin this thing right here. But if we were off, I could show you how to fix it too. Okay, we're still off just a little. Geez, I don't even know how many times I've been to the grinder with this one. So that's the deal. That's why you need to make those patterns so precise, and then you need to cut them precise. Or, see, now here I am. I'm coming around here and I hit this. Now we're perfect back here, but we still got this tiny hook right there. We took it off that time. See how close we are. There it is. Okay, now see, this piece is going to just flow right across there. And we're the right width there. So let's take a look at this. Put this on here. Ooh, I can't pronounce this guy's last name. He's in Germany. He doesn't speak English, doesn't read English, so we use a little bit of this translation stuff. But he's a very skilled glass craftsman, and he's building this thing same time. And then I can't remember, there's a woman, I can't remember her name. She's building this thing at the same time I am too, and they're both doing this. Well, they're doing as good as I am. If I had to look, I thought, they took the picture of my work and sent it back to me. And then I looked again. No, that's their work. Woo. So there's a little something going on with the foil here we need to fix. You see where they got a little bit of overlap right here in the foil. So let's take that and clean that off. And the same thing going on this other side. There's a little bit of, just clean that up. Okay. Oh, we got that. That is so nice. Okay, we're going to look at this in just a second and see what we have done. All right. There we go. You see, when we get this soldered, that thing is dead in line. And see the side of it? Look at this. There's no going right, no variance along the side of that glass. So that means that when we solder this thing in here, that thing's going to be straight. And that's exactly what you got to have. Okay, and then I think I did that I'd re-establish the 10 millimeters to about here. 10. Okay, so we've reestablished this line right here at 10 again. And then when I get this in, I'll turn right around and reestablish this line. And I can see right now, right here, it's gotten a little bit narrow right there because that's the original line where I marked off the 30 millimeters. And see that? Ooh, man, I don't know. Must be an optical illusion. That thing is 10 millimeters. I think I have this one so wide it made this one look narrow. Anyway, there it is. Okay, so what'll happen now is I'm going to come back in here with the glue chip. That's easier to do because you don't have to make a pattern. Come right here and you mark that piece of glue chip out. Usually to do that, I'll give you, I don't know, everybody do what they want to do. Take another 3 millimeter, 1/8 inch piece of glass, set it right here. Now you've got your glue chip in the right spot. I'll mark that one, but we won't cut it. Where's it at? Here it is. Okay, here's that. Boy, these are good. The Sharpie Ultra Fine Point. I'm about to wear the, pardon me, the name off that thing again. Now here. And because I've got this piece out here, I'm not sitting at an angle, so I can come right here and just look down. Oops, let me get you where you can see this. Looking right down through that glass where I want that line. Well, I'm going to answer an obvious question here in just a minute. Now, you don't need to put up or anything on that because this is the side we want, the glue chip side. Flip it over and cut it. Come back in here and fit it. Somebody will say, and this panel is only 32 inches tall. Well, you're not compensating. Sometime they won't say it, but you're not compensating for the fact that you need solder to run down inside there to make this thing strong enough. That's not really true. The matrix or this design is so tight, right, that I'm not worried about a line. That's why I've got these pieces sitting right up next to each other. And you get a 60-40 bead on this side, turn it over and get a 60-40 bead on the other side. This thing's only 17 inches across. Now, if it was 56 inches across, we'd look at it a different way. But because it's only 17 inches across, it's tight. It's rigid. It's not going to go anywhere. Oh, pardon me. Ooh, sneezing. So it's not going to go anywhere. So you don't need to worry. And man, people, I was looking at this Facebook page the other day, which I post stuff on there, and man, somebody went on there. There were 75 responses over pattern shears. Don't use those, use these. Don't use these, use those. And you know what? I saw this right here on a video. This mess right there, which, all that was a ball of solder that, anyway, yeah, I'm glad I fixed that. That's on a picture. Oh, the other thing is clean these off. And anyway, so this person asked a question about pattern shears, and I've got pattern shears. I've got lead pattern shears. I've got copper foil pattern shears, and I don't use them because I'm one piece at a time. I don't need them. And so just another thing to eliminate. Anyway, but people are convinced, and what I hear more than anything else is, well, I was taught. Well, I wasn't taught. I taught myself. So everything I've learned and everything I apply to this work is tried and true from many, many years of doing this stuff. So if you were taught a particular way and you want to do it that way, I'm not telling you not to. I'm just saying I'm just doing it a different way. Whatever way you want to do it's great. Fine with me. I'm just showing you how I'm doing it, not saying mine is better. Okay, well, anyway, that's all I have. We'll just keep going here. Next, we're going to come across here, get these done, Man, I'm excited because I don't know how long I'll work on this tonight. I'll be back over here. Okay, what I'm going to do, for those that are following me, this is just my opinion. The smart move here is to get these in, come here and get this one in, and this one in. Stop. Okay, go back over here, and here's where you really got to get disciplined. Cut this one out and make sure that you establish yourself a nice line where this one is, and this one, and this one. They all have to be lined up. Get those in and lock them down. And then put these in. Okay, and the reason I want to do that is because I want to get this all established and in the right place before I start here. So I'm going to go from here to here, and then I'm going to go right back over here, here, and here. If I wanted to, I could go ahead and put these in because I've got an established line that this thing needs to stay on. Not that big a deal. But then you can put these in, stay right on there, doing it the same way I'm doing this. And then we'll get to here. Then, bear in mind, here's what we'll have done. We'll have this area done and this area done. Then now we got to come in here and start here. So that's going to be simple because we have these in. And it's going to be a lot easier. Here, there's people that want to do this some other way. I'm going to tell you why this is better. I'm not speaking of anybody in particular, but there will be those people that I don't know why they do that, because they just create themselves more work. And they're not going to be able to adhere to this design that we're working on. If you're doing it in lead, then I'm not talking to you. All right, so they're going to start in the middle. Well, I don't know why you'd start lead in the middle either, but anyway, they're going to do this in the middle. All right, no reference. So if you were to do this part here first, come down here and get this cross in here, and there will be people that think that's the way to do this. I'm not speaking disrespectfully, I'm just telling you that's the hardest way to do it. Because once you get this established, and then you start trying to build this, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get this piece here cut and fit here, 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 and here. What is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 places that this piece of glass has got to lay in and fit exactly right. Whereas we'll have this piece already in, already established. And we've had the easy part. We only have had to get it lined up here and here and here. And it's going to be much easier then to turn around and get this piece to fit here and this piece to fit there and this piece to fit here and cut this piece to fit here. It's just much easier than, cutting all these separate, than to put this thing down and then make all these have to fit to it. Harder. Take it from me, I've been doing this a long time. This is the truth. But somebody will say to me, but I wasn't taught that way. Well, I don't know what I can say. I'm not saying your instructor doesn't know what they're doing, but if you had 100 instructors and there were 10 people in the class, 1,000 people, all 100 of those instructors would be building this thing a different way. So everybody's got what their experiences have taught them, or that they were taught in a class or whatever. All I have to teach me is experience, because I never went to a class because there weren't any. So that's why we're where we are. But I promise you, I'm not telling you that my way is the best way. But I know one thing, I'm going to get a heck of a good result out of this way. I promise you I'm going to get that. Oh, I can already see these things lining up. Ooh, man, you talk about gorgeous. We get the right glass picked out for the center of this thing with this emerald green here. This thing's going to just leap right out of here. All right, well, I'm excited about this. I wish I didn't have to sleep. if I didn't have to sleep, I'd work on this thing all night. All right. Well, if you have any questions about where we're at, what we're doing, what we're not doing, look at that line. Real important. These horizontal lines going across. See there? We're working to get that horizontal line perfect. Then be sure and ask me, because I'll cover it for you. And if you have questions, you can ask me on Messenger or wherever. I don't care. All right. Thanks a lot.